What is up, everybody? My name is Andrew Mott, and I am the founder of the League FFB on YouTube, but I'm also the newest member of the Dynasty Nerds content team. So hopefully you guys are excited for my first video here on the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel. Maybe not my first video. I've done some videos with the other guys, but this is my first solo video. But I felt like today was going to be a very good day to talk about some Dynasty trades. So I asked you guys in the Discord if you guys wanted to submit some trades for me to review and talk about my feelings, see how you guys did, kind of grade the trade type of deal. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into the video and let's start talking about these dynasty trades. All right, so I got about 10 trades here in today's video. Like I said, we're going to be kicking it off with trade number one submitted by Green Bay all day. The context for this deal is it is a 12-team league, super flex, full PPR type of format with a 1.5 tight end premium. He also let us know that he made this trade during the startup. Now, what he did was send his 111, which was Brock Bowers, who he selected there, and he got Drake London from the 208 and two first round picks over the next 2 years, one in 2026 and one in 2027. And right now, off the bat, I love this trade for you. I think when you're doing a trade like this, a guy like Brock Bowers, he's kind of a luxury. Obviously, we want to draft him in the first round of those dynasty startups, and you are in the tight end premium. So you have even more incentive to draft a guy like Brock Bowers. But also, if you are a team that feels like you kind of want to play for the future a little bit, I am never opposed to moving back in your draft and getting some additional draft capital over the next couple of years. And you get a guy like Drake London, who I still believe is a top 10 dynasty wide receiver, a guy who can probably flirt with top 5 numbers this year if the targets go his way from Michael Penix. So love this type of deal for you. Think it's a good deal. And the value is fair. Even the guy who's getting Brock Bowers probably feels pretty good about this deal if he's going in right away trying to win some games in this type of format. But love the deal for you here, Green Bay. Drake London and the 2 first is definitely the side that I'd take. Now let's go on to trade number 2. When you have trade number 2 here, it's Johnny's Wolf 007. Hopefully I said that name right. But it's a 12-team league, super flex, full PPR, tight end premium, and start 11. He says that Marvin Harrison Jr. was his wide receiver 4 on his team, and he needed a young running back to help him contend here in 2025. So what he does is send Marvin Harrison Jr. He gets a Marion Hampton and a 2027 third-round pick. Now, obviously, the third-round pick in a deal like this, it's very minuscule, probably not something we even care about too much. Sure, you got it thrown in. But I think when I'm looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. and Marion Hampton, these are two players that probably should be very similarly valued in dynasty startups. I think in trade markets, they should be valued pretty similarly. And when you look at both of these assets, they're young assets that we want to see break out and turn into elite dynasty assets. I think in a bubble, I would prefer Marvin Harrison Jr., but given the context of your team, the fact that you wanted a younger running back to help you contend, and Marvin Harrison Jr. was the wide receiver 4 in your lineup, I don't mind you moving off of him and getting a guy like Amarion Hampton, who has a chance here to start out very early on in the season as the bell cow for the Los Angeles Chargers in this offense with Harbaugh, Greg Roman, and probably become an RB1 for our fantasy football teams. Trade number 3 here was submitted by Floor Killa. The context for the league is a 12-team, one quarterback, half PPR, and start 9 type of league. He said he feels like he is one running back away, an anchor running back specifically, from being a top contender in this league. So what he does is trade a 26 first that is not his own and his own 26 first round pick, so 2 of those total, to get Devon Achane. Now, looking at this trade, I have very high hopes for Devon Achane in 2025. He's a player that I am very high on. I think in the format that you are in, a half PPR, you probably would prefer that you're getting Achane in the full PPR because that's where he kind of makes his money as a receiver in that offense for the Miami Dolphins and how he scores the majority of his fantasy football points. However, I do think that in this type of format, Achane should probably still be a top 30-ish type of asset for us in startups. So if you're moving 2 first, probably one of them that you're expecting to be late. I don't know really where Jay Housens is projected to be, but you said you're going to be a top contender in this league after you made this move. So I'm going to project your pick as late. I don't have an issue with this. I think this is a fair deal. Probably a tiny bit of an overpay for Achane in this type of format. Like I said, you prefer it to be the full PPR. But if this is going to make you truly a top contender in the league, this is sometimes, what it takes. The cost to be the boss, the price of admission to be an elite team in your leagues. And I definitely don't mind this trade at all. So let's go on to trade number 4. This one was submitted by K9. K9 said this is a 12-team, one quarterback, full PPR, no tight end premium, and start 9 type of format. He also said that his league has accused him of overpaying in this deal. He says he's a contender and he feels like he needed another running back to pair with Kyron Williams and Amarion Hampton, who are already on the roster. So he traded away a 2026 first round pick, David Montgomery, and Kayshon Boutte for Josh Jacobs and a 2026 third round pick. To me, if I'm going to simplify this deal for you and kind of try and get the values to line up, I'm just going to take Boutte and the 26th third round pick out. Yeah, Boutte probably has some upside after what we saw last year, but realistically, he's probably a non-factor, and you don't really want to play him in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. He's more of a bench piece that makes you feel good because you have a little bit of upside, quote unquote, for your team. So let's just take those assets out. When I'm looking at it now, it's Josh Jacobs for a 26 first and David Montgomery. You said you are a contender. This looks to be your first round pick. So I do believe this is going to be late. Is a late first and David Montgomery fair for Josh Jacobs? I think so. If you're going to be a top contender, I don't mind overpaying a little bit just to secure the lineup. I do think you were fine at the running back position with Kyron Williams and Amarion Hampton, but adding Josh Jacobs to it just further cements that your team is ready to go, and you should have lots of points here in your lineup this year. As far as the league saying that you overpaid, maybe you overpaid just a tiny bit. I think some people would probably argue that Josh Jacobs is worth a first. I know I traded a first for Josh Jacobs in one of my leagues, but it depends on how you feel about David Montgomery. He is also a running back that's getting a little bit older, maybe a little bit undervalued in circles right now just because of Jahmyr Gibbs and how good of a year he had last year when David Montgomery was a little bit banged up. But I think this is a fine deal. I don't think you overpaid. And if you did overpay, it was probably still worth it just to get Josh Jacobs and help you try and chase that title here in 2025. Let's go to trade number 5. This one was submitted by Bingo. This is a 12-team super flex, full PPR, no tight end premium, and start 9 type of format. He says that he is in year 2 of a rebuild, and he's been trying to pivot off of the running backs as part of that rebuilding process. So definitely something I agree with as far as process. In a rebuild, I don't want to roster high value running backs. I would like to transition those assets into either draft capital or wide receiver assets where I know that the stability of that asset is a little bit more easy to predict long term. So what he does here is trade Justin Herbert, Chase Brown, and the 210 in the 2025 draft class for Drake Maye and Ladd McConkey. And I think this is a great deal because in a rebuild, you definitely have the argument that Drake Maye is more valuable to you than Justin Herbert. I think both of these players are going to be fine dynasty players long term, but Maye is definitely the player that I want to roster personally if I'm in a rebuild. And then that comes down to Ladd McConkey for Chase Brown in the 210. I will do that 7 days out of the week, twice on Sundays. Give me Ladd McConkey there. I think this is a perfect deal for you in your rebuild and is only going to make you stronger long term. This is a smash accept on your side of the deal. Love what you received here in Drake Maye and Ladd McConkey. Let's go to trade number 6. This one was submitted by Keebers. This is a 12-team, superflex, full PPR, tight end premium, and start 10 type of league. He said he thinks the 26th first round pick that is in this deal is going to be early on in the draft there in 2026. He projects it to be the 101 to the 103 range. So obviously, I don't know your league. I don't know what this draft pick is going to look like, but I never like to project draft picks to be the 101 or to be the 102 unless it's very, very clear. Now, it might be clear in your league that this team is tanking, but I never like to do that. I like to give myself a little bit of a buffer. So if I think it's going to be early or has a chance to be early, I like to project it a little bit as middle of the pack for the most part. But as far as the deal goes, what we have here is Jamar Chase being traded away, and you get Nico Collins, Breece Hall, and that first round pick that he says is potentially early. I'm going to project it as middle of the pack. But Nico Collins and Breece Hall, is that enough to go get Jamar Chase? Probably not. That is obviously why you go get that first round pick thrown in, and you are tearing down off of Jamar Chase. But you have a lot of options here now that you've made this deal. Collins still a player that I'm projecting to be a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. I think he's also a guy that flirts with those top 5 weeks almost each and every week, has the ability to go out and win you every single game. Breece Hall is a player that's probably a little bit undervalued. You have to have faith that he's going to bounce back under Justin Fields. But the other option that you have here is you make a secondary move Breece Hall for another asset, maybe tiered down from Breece Hall, get another first thrown in that secondary deal, and then you get Nico Collins plus a running back of your choice that's a tier down and 2 first round picks now. I think I'd probably make a secondary move here if you're not a Hall believer. If you are, definitely don't mind you having it. But tearing down here, the value probably adds up. It's always tough to look at Jamar Chase in a trade and say, I don't want that side, but I think the value's okay here. So I'm not too afraid of this deal for you. But obviously, you always want to have Jamar Chase on your team. But if this makes your team better, I'm all for it. The value adds up. Let's go to trade number 7. I have a submission here from JHR0423. This is a 12-team superflex tight end premium type of league, and he says he is entering a rebuild and has decided to move Jamar Chase as the Kickstarter of the deal. So back-to-back Jamar Chase deals here, both of them trading them away. This one, we trade away Jamar Chase, Jared Goff, and Jonnu Smith, now the tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You get Drake Maye, a 26 first, a 27 first, a 26 second, a 27 second, and Jordan Addison. So I think the best place to try and start breaking this deal down is going to be with Jamar Chase and Drake Maye. Those are the most valuable assets in the deal. So I'm going to look at Jamar Chase and say it's going to take Drake Maye plus. I love Drake Maye in a super flex. Obviously, you want to have him in a rebuild. He's a player that we think has a lot of rushing upside, can be a very talented player long-term for our dynasty leagues. But I'm going to throw in one of these 26 first, and then I think it is going to get a little bit tricky here where you have to decide whether it's another first or if it's just one of the seconds to equal the value. I'm going to play this one a little bit safe. I'm going to say Maye and 2 firsts equals Jamar Chase, and maybe you throw Jonnu Smith in there just because it's tight end premium to even it out. So take out Maye, both firsts, and then Chase and Jonnu. That's going to leave me here with Jared Goff for Jordan Addison in 2 seconds. I think you have the argument that you would take Jordan Addison in 2 seconds, considering that you got Drake Maye. The value is not off by any means. I think you definitely lean towards the rebuilding side of the picks, Maye and Addison. And like I said in the last deal, when you have Jamar Chase and you're trading him away, it's hard not to look at that and say, man, I want the best player in the deal, and that is Jamar Chase. But this is a lot of value in a rebuild for a super flex type of league. So give me Maye, the 2 firsts, the 2 seconds, and Jordan Addison here. And I think you have a lot of opportunity here to turn that draft capital and turn those players that you got in this deal into other trades later down the road as you try and build this back into a contender. Let's go on to the next trade. I have trade number 8 submitted by Caden Yas 41. And this is a 12-team IDP, full PPR, no tight end premium. And he says that there is a half point per receiving first down bonus in this league as well. He says he's the top 3 contending roster with Kittle, Loveland, and Cole Kmet already on the roster. And he asked if he should be selling Isaiah Likely in this type of format or if he should be keeping it. Now, I would like to see this be a completed trade. I want to, kind of review those completed trades, but I'll help you out here. We will look at this and say, you do have Kittle, you have Loveland. I don't think there's any real need for you to be attached to Isaiah Likely. You're moving him to another player at the tight end position in David Njoku, who I do believe is a better player for you as a contending asset. You mentioned you're a top 3 contending team. David Njoku is going to help you score more points this year outside of an injury from Mark Andrews or outside of a trade of Mark Andrews, which is kind of hard to project right now. When I'm just looking at those 2025 projections, Njoku, this is a player we've seen perform as a top 5, top 7 tight end from time to time. I think this is a fine deal for you to make, and you get the 3rd round pick thrown in with those extra, late round picks that you said you could use on some IDP positions. I just like the draft capital and the David Njoku side, and really I'm not even looking at the draft capital. I just prefer David Njoku to Isaiah Likely in Dynasty, and I think he helps you accomplish your goal of trying to be a contending roster. So going on to trade number 9, we have Wander in here who submitted his trade. It's a 12-team Superflex full PPR, 1.5 tight end premium, and a start 9. He says he's unsure whether or not he will be ready to contend this year, but he thinks it's guaranteed he will be a contender come the 2026 season. He already has Bowers on this team. His other running backs are Omarion Hampton, Cam Scatabo, and Jalen Wright. Plus, he said he still has 3 first-round picks in 2026 and 2 of them in 2027 after this trade. So the deal that we have here is DK Metcalf, Dalton Kincaid, Ashton Jeanty, and a 26th third-round pick being traded away. He gets Malik Nabers, Terrence Ferguson, and a 2028 4th-round pick. The late round picks I'm not too worried about. To me, this trade starts with Malik Nabers and Ashton Jeanty. When it's coming down to how I would draft these players in a startup, I'm going to prefer the wide receiver over the running back every time. That's not just because I don't like Ashton Jeanty, but it's because of the positional value there. Malik Nabers, to me, is a player that has an argument. I don't have him there yet, but he's a player who has an argument for Dynasty wide receiver 1, and at the minimum, could be in the same tier here as Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. He's a player that's going to command 150 plus targets, and I think you can confidently build around him as your wide receiver 1 for the next decade in Dynasty. You have Kincaid and DK Metcalf here. You get Terrence Ferguson. I think you could just call that the price of admission for down tiering from Nabers to Jeanty. Yes, we believe that Jeanty can be that guy long term, but I don't think you were relying on Kincaid anyways because you already had Brock Bowers on this team. So I'm not too worried about the tight end position. And I think a guy like DK Metcalf can be valuable to an extent. I don't think he's a league breaker at this point in time for your fantasy football leagues. So I'm going to take the Malik Nabers, the Terrence Ferguson in the fourth round pick side. There's definitely some value on the other side as well. But if you already have Brock Bowers on the team, Amarion Hampton on the team, and some other guys, give me Malik Nabers. But I do think you are still a little bit weak at the running back position. I would not be going into this year relying on Scatabo and Jalen Wright. But I know you said you are playing for 2026 when you decide to push those chips in. Then maybe you can use some of those first round picks on the running back. So that is also an added bonus as to why you could go to Nabers over Jeanty, because Jeanty is a win now piece. Definitely. He's a young player, but he's a win now piece. Let's move on to trade number 10 here. We do have this as the final submission. It's going to be a 12-team superflex full PPR and tight end premium with best ball scoring. So every week, the best highest scorers get plugged into your lineup. If you're not familiar with best ball, you guys probably are. He says he's a contender and is hoping that the Pearsall hype plays out in his favor. So he trades a 27 second round pick and J.K. Dobbins, now with the Denver Broncos, for Ricky Pearsall. And I like this trade as well. You know, you talked about it being a best ball format. J.K. Dobbins has the chance to get into your lineups, but he's not a long-term asset at all. And a 27 second should be fine. You know, we'll see what happens. We like the 2027 draft class, but that's a couple years away. Pearsall to me is a player that I was very excited about last year as a wide receiver who snuck into the first round for the 49ers. Obviously, his career did not get to the start that we wanted it to. That wasn't necessarily his fault. That was the off the field issues that happened with him earlier in the year, and that wasn't his fault either. Like we said, kind of a victim in that gunshot thing that happened with him. So Ricky Pearsall is a player I think has a chance to break out here in year two. You have the Juwan Jennings news as of lately, him wanting some more money, IU kind of recovering from the ACL. There's lots of opportunity on the table for Pearsall. So you hope the Pearsall hype plays out in your favor. I think you got good value for Pearsall, and I'm a believer that Pearsall has a chance to break out here as well. So I like that side of the deal. That's the deal that I would be taking. And when it comes down to, you know, the best ball scoring, the 27 draft pick wasn't going to be scoring points in your lineup for the next 2 years anyways. I think Pearsall definitely has the chance to outscore J.K. Dobbins this year and has the higher long-term ceiling. So there you have it, folks. That was 10 trades that you guys submitted in our Discord. So thank you guys for doing that. Like I said, first video, solo video on the channel. So hopefully you guys enjoy. If you do, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and go let me know in the comment section how you feel. Maybe we'll do a video like this every once in a while where we keep reviewing your guys' trades. I love talking Dynasty trades. I know you guys like making Dynasty trades. Who doesn't? Every day is a good day for a Dynasty trade. But we have nothing else for you guys today, so we'll see you on the next episode. Till then, though, peace out.